Hi friends, topic for today is junctional epithelium. This is a very important topic from exam point of view as well as from clinical point of view. First of all, we will be discussing nomenclature. This is known as junctional epithelium because it attaches the gingiva to the tooth. Microscopically, gingiva can be divided into three types of epithelium. One is oral or outer epithelium, which is keratinized or parakeratinized. What we see when we smile from the front surface, that is the outer or oral epithelium. Then there is sulcular epithelium, which is non-keratinized. It lines the gingival sulcus. And third epithelium, which I am discussing today, is junctional epithelium. It is a non-keratinized epithelium. It is the epithelium which is joining gingiva with the tooth. This joining is reinforced by gingival fibers, and this unit together is called as dentogingival unit. We used to call it biological width also, and recently the name has been given as supracrestal tissue. If we just talk about junctional epithelium, this is also known as dentogingival junction or dentogingival epithelium. We have to differentiate between dentogingival junction and dentogingival unit. There is always some confusion about these two terminologies, attachment epithelium and epithelial attachment. Attachment epithelium is the other name of junctional epithelium. But this junctional epithelium attaches to the tooth with the help of internal basal lamina and hemidesmosome. This unit is known as epithelial attachment. As you can see in this diagram, these are the cells, epithelial cells. These rest on basal lamina. Right? This basal lamina has two components. This is, if we see ultramicroscopically, we see a very light structure. This is known as lamina lucida, and then there is a dense structure, we call it as lamina densa. This lamina lucida and lamina densa constitute basal lamina. Earlier name, some people used to call it as basal membrane, basement membrane also. So these epithelial cells, if we can appreciate, between two epithelial cells, this is a desmosome, that is joint, some joint is there. So if we see, there is a half part hemidesmosome here and hemidesmosome here, and this unit together with the internal intermediate plaque is known as desmosome. But if this internal basal lamina, it rests on the tooth surface, and if the external basal lamina rests on the connective tissue, then there will be only one half desmosome, that is hemidesmosome. So this hemidesmosome along with the lamina lucida and lamina densa, that is basal lamina, this unit is known as epithelial attachment. Coming to the definition of junctional epithelium, it is a collar-like band. As we all know, this is like a band and it surrounds the tooth surface, and in the interdental area, it fuses to form an epithelial lining of the interdental cord. This is a stratified, that means it is multiple layered. It is squamous, that topmost layer consists of the flat cells, and non-keratinizing epithelium, that it doesn't have a keratinized layer. So all non-keratinizing epithelium, the epithelia, they have three layers: stratum basale, that is basal layer, then intermediate layer or stratum intermediate, and then stratum superficial, that is superficial layer. But this junctional epithelium is made up of two layers: stratum basale, that is basal layer, and stratum suprabasale, that is suprabasal layer. Here in this diagram, you can appreciate that this is the only epithelium in the body which has two basal lamina. One, the cells which are in direct contact with the tooth, they are known as directly attached to tooth cells or dart cells. So they rest on the tooth surface with the help of internal basal lamina, and it is separated from the connective tissue with the help of external basal lamina. So all these are basal layer of cells, and then there is a suprabasal layer of cell. If we come to structure, it has three surfaces. I have already talked, there is a coronal surface which forms the base of gingival sulcus, and then there is an internal surface along with the tooth, and there is external surface which faces the connective tissue. Same, there are two basal lamina, one basal lamina that is internal, which is attached to the tooth, and external, which is attached to the connective tissue. And as I have already explained, dart cells are directly attached to tooth cells. And this junctional epithelium can be divided into three types. It has three major characteristics. Because turnover rate is very high, 5 to 6 days. That means the whole epithelium gets renewed in 5 to 6 days. From the basal layer to the topmost layer, the cells travel in 5 to 6 days. So it has to be of a highly proliferative nature. So the apical zone is proliferative zone. Because the function of junctional epithelium is adhesion. It provides adhesion to the tooth. So the central zone is adhesive zone. And the most coronal zone, because it is in contact with the sulcular epithelium, so it inherits some characteristics or some permeability from the sulcular epithelium also. This is highly permeable zone. So the three zones are apical, middle and coronal. Apical is proliferative, middle is adhesive, and coronal is permeable. If we talk about keratins, junctional epithelium cell expresses K19. This is a keratin. This is present in non-keratinized epithelia, and it is absent in all keratinized epithelia. This junctional epithelium has K5 and K14, which are stratification specific keratins, and I have already explained it has multiple layers. It has a high turnover rate, but in spite of this, it lacks K6 and K16 keratins, which are characteristic of highly proliferative epithelia. This question comes mostly in exams. Then there are antigen presenting cells, polymorphonucleosides or other dendritic cells are present, but it lacks Langerhans cells. It is well innervated by sensory nerve fibers. As I have already explained, in the earlier life it is 3 to 4 layers thick, and slowly the number of layers start increasing to 10 to 20 layers with age. And then it is 10 to 30 layers thick coronally, and it tapers to 1 to 3 cell layers apically. Coming to development of junctional epithelium, we all know that when enamel secretion is complete, this is a tooth bud, and tooth starts erupting, and there is then inner and outer enamel epithelia, they fuse together to form reduced enamel epithelium. This, when the tooth starts erupting, this reduced enamel epithelium, when tooth approaches the oral epithelium or oral mucosa, this merges with oral epithelial cells and forms a epithelial plug. As we all know, this epithelium does not have its own blood supply. So there is a split in this epithelium, and there is apoptosis. There is a programmed cell death of these epithelial cells. So there is a break and tooth cuts through. Tooth erupts in the oral cavity, and there is no bleeding because no connective tissue is involved. So this reduced enamel epithelial cells, when they merge with the oral epithelial cells, they become junctional epithelium. So earlier junctional epithelium is present at the incisal edge, and then it starts migrating apically. So tooth is erupting towards the occlusal table. This is active eruption. But exposure of tooth surface is also occurring because of the apical migration of this junctional epithelium. Then this is known as passive eruption. So when the tooth reaches occlusal table, junctional epithelium is on enamel, and this whole procedure of replacement of reduced enamel epithelium by junctional epithelium takes around 1 to 2 years. Coming to functions of junctional epithelium, first function, as we all know, attachment. Highest rate of turnover. It improves healing and hinders the colonization of microbes. Whatever microorganisms they try to settle on the surface of this cell, these cells, they get desquamated. So highest rate of turnover. It's very important because tooth is continuously erupting, and we have to maintain the junction. Otherwise, what will happen? Tooth is erupting, and this junctional epithelium, if doesn't keep pace with that eruption, then the gingiva will be deflected away. It will detach, which we don't want. And then junctional epithelium also secretes certain antimicrobial substances like lysozymes, cathelicidins, defensins. It has also found to secrete certain cytokines like interleukin 1, 6 and TNF alpha. Very important that it leads to the release of interleukin 8, which is a chemokine. It is a chemoattractant. So when microorganisms attack, they come in contact with junctional epithelium. This interleukin 8 is released, and this acts as a chemokine for polymorphonucleosides and other defense cells. As already we have talked that it has permeability. So the permeability is two ways. One, it towards the sulcus and from the sulcus to the connective tissue. So it helps in GCF secretion and what we call as orogranulocytic migration. PMNLs come from the connective tissue to the epithelium and then to sulcus. It's a very important feature because they are first line of defense cells. They prevent the entry of microorganisms. But still, because this tissue is very loose, so there is entry of microbes and microbial toxins into the connective tissue. Coming to the peculiar points, these are the Viva questions or MCQ questions. That length of junctional epithelium is 0.25 to 1.35 mm. This is the only epithelium in the body having two basal lamina, that is internal towards tooth and external towards connective tissue. Source of junctional epithelium post-periodontal surgical procedure is oral epithelium. Turnover rate is 5 to 6 days. I have already explained. This is almost 50 times faster, 50 to 100 times faster than the oral epithelium. There is a term I would like to clarify, funneling, the funneling effect. It is that all the basal cells are proliferating at a much higher speed and the release of cells from the sulcus is at a lesser speed. So there is a funneling action. It contributes to the flow of epithelial cells. Thank you so much, and you are free to contact me and you can put your comments in comment section. Thank you.